On September 13th, 2025, central London saw one of the largest and most heated street demonstrations in years. I was there, and I'm about to tell you what actually happened. The protest, branded the Unite the Kingdom rally, was called by Tommy Robinson. People say he's a far-right activist and others call him a patriot. Estimates from mainstream news media put the crowd numbers between 100,000 to 150,000 people. I couldn't fully record everything because of the rain, but when I was at the stage, they mentioned that the numbers of the rally were around 3 million. I don't believe it's 100,000 and I don't believe it's 3 million, maybe somewhere in between, because when I was there, every street and every corner was absolutely packed with people. On the other end of this rally was another one counter-protesting. Unfortunately, by the time I tried to reach it at around 4 o'clock, all of the roads that were leading to it were completely blocked. I had to run around half of London just trying to find a way in. By the time I got to Trafalgar Square, which was around 5 PM when the actual counter-protest was finishing, it was just packed with Tommy Robinson protesters and a bunch of riot police. The Tommy Robinson protesters couldn't leave, they were all boxed in, and the counter-protesters couldn't leave either. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's rewind just a little bit here. When I first got to the actual rally, it was still getting bigger by the minute, and I was there about an hour early. From one end of the street to the other, it was just absolutely full of people. You couldn't get through. People were still arriving. The Brotherhood of Christ from New Zealand, I believe, was coming through as well. Lots of people were getting ready to start the march. By the time we finally got moving, which was around midday to 1 o'clock, I ran all the way over to the front of the actual rally and I was just trying to get footage of where Tommy Robinson was and who else was with him. So I saw the Polish Minister of European Parliament, which was Dominik Tarczyński. I saw Tommy Robinson himself, Katie Hopkins, Ant Middleton from SAS Who Dares Wins. I mean, there was just a lot of people coming through here. Security was just pushing everyone back. The tensions were really high. As you know, Charlie Kirk was just killed a couple days before, and so they were afraid something like this was going to happen again. They made sure that not once the rally was allowed to stop. Multiple times, from when we were just mustering numbers to actually on the move, there was lots of slogans and chants being shouted. From our streets to Charlie Kirk, never let a lefty teach a kid, and obviously the main one, Keir Starmer's a wanker. It was a bit of a trek to get to the stage, and so I had a lot of time to be listening out for what people were saying, and someone said something rather interesting which caught my attention. Someone in the crowd said, "Donald Trump is like the Winston Churchill of America." Another person, referring to Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, said it would be different if he was one of us, but he never was. Eventually, I just left the actual rally, and every street I turned was still full of people. And that's where we get to back where I began, where I went to Trafalgar Square. The crowds that I saw at the rally were generally okay. I didn't see anyone being overtly racist, I didn't see anyone being too provocative. It was just the chants and a bit of football hooliganism, people jumping on stuff. No one was throwing anything. However, when I got to Trafalgar Square was when that really did change. You still saw a bunch of patriots, stood by the Trafalgar Square, lots of people with flags, but things were getting really tense. They had spotted the counter-protesters just down the road, and this changed things completely. It went from what I had initially saw, which was people having a day out, there with their mates, having a bit of fun, drinking a pint or two, to real political zeal. When they had spotted these counter-protesters, I could immediately see how the flip switched. People were really angry. They grabbed bottles, they grabbed cans, they grabbed bags full of trash, and they were throwing them all at the police. I even have a video of one of the protesters throwing a traffic cone at the police, but that was right at the beginning. They had only just spotted them there, and it went straight to the extreme. From this point on, it was just chaos. I was caught in between the police and the protesters, and the only thing that was keeping me from getting dragged in by the police was the fact that I was holding a camera and not waving around a flag. I saw the police grabbing flags out of people's hands, dragging people in to arrest them, whacking people with batons. I mean, it was just insane. You can see here in a lot of the footage, which I'll just let it run for a little bit, how chaotic it actually was and how close I was in between the police and the protesters. Other than that, the police ended up just pushing everyone out. We were sectioned off into different streets. Let's say, for example, we had 100 people on one street, they would just section it off, say 25, 25, 25, just moving them into different areas, splitting us all apart. And by that point, it just died down. I ended up finding another guy who was there with a camera recording everything, and I just started to make my way home. Now, that's enough of my monologue of what I saw. Let's talk about what happened on the news. Apparently, by the end of the day, at least 25 arrests were made. The Metropolitan Police reported 26 officers injured and 4 seriously after being punched, kicked, or struck by objects. Extra units had been drafted in from across the country, and I even saw this for myself. Officers from Wales and Cornwall were there. This rally completely dominated headlines. Supporters framed it as a show of force on immigration and national identity, and more importantly, as a political revolution. Other critics called it an emboldening of extremism. The main thing that was on my mind when I was there watching everything unfold was just how polarised the UK has become. The level of hate and anger that I saw on the streets between both the counter-protesters and the actual protesters was unheard of for me. I've never seen anything like it. When I was at the rally, everyone got swept up by what they were saying, by all the buzzwords, and by the weight of everyone behind them pushing things forward. I had actually spoken to a man before the rally set off, and he gave me his predictions for what the next 5 years in Britain will be. It's up to you if you think that this is going to be true, but he said that there would be political revolution, that the British identity will be reclaimed, and that the same way that people now are obsessed with being cool, eventually being English will be the next cool. I'm not going to say what my opinions are on that, but one thing is for certain. It's not just me, but I believe it's everyone in the UK that is feeling this right now, where the next 5 years are really uncertain. People went out on the streets calling for political revolution. The question is, what is political revolution? How far does it go? Where British identity must be reclaimed? Well, what does that entail? Does it entail kicking people out of the country? Is it only the immigrants? Is it the illegal migrants? What's the end of the line? Looking back on what happened, September 13th wasn't just a protest. Some people say it's an awakening, like I said before, political revolution, but what's really happening is just political extremism. British society is becoming completely polarised between left and right, whether you support Israel or Palestine, whether you support Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage, and if you're on the opposite end of what someone else believes in, you are now the enemy. This video is not to critique the left wing or the right wing, and it's not in support of the left wing or the right wing. The whole point of why I wanted to cover this was just to show you firsthand how divided British society has actually become. September 13th won't be remembered as just another march. It marked a turning point, showing that raw anger can spill over when politics moves from Parliament to the pavement.